Okay, once again, good morning to you guys. Today's session would be the second, by the way, in the senior manager track of Leadership Success Series. So before I get started with the session, I would like to acknowledge the contributions by Sandhya and Asha. They've demonstrated excellent leadership in running the Leadership Success Series for Manage the Docs community. And how can I forget the volunteers? Obviously, they have been great and helping us pull off these sessions. They've been helping us at every step. So thanks, Geeta, Chaitanya, Sharad, Varun, Leanne, and Edwin. You guys are helping us put all these sessions together and making it a great success. So today's presentation is on the topic developing a content strategy for partners to help your business scale. Let me share my screen and which I'm doing right now, and just turn off the camera because it just saves some of the bandwidth. Uh, and I can do the presentation mode. Okay, so let's get started with this. Before I start, for those who don't know me, I I'm Akash Dubey. I work as a director of technical publications and localization in iManage Chicago. I head India's largest, oldest community of tech communicators and language professionals, TWIN. Now that is out of the way, the introduction, let's talk about the session. So let's look at the agenda. So today we will discuss what content challenges most businesses face and what should be our mission or business goal to address that challenge. We will look at the journey framework that was kind of, in a way, proprietary, I would say, at iManage, but it can be very generic. Anybody can apply it in their organization. So we look at that journey framework, which we developed at iManage to address the content and business challenge. We will also look at how we operationalize that content framework by working with people in different departments. So let's get started with that. This slide, if you notice, lists some of the most influential brands in the world. These brands like Apple, Android, Salesforce, Amazon are all leaders in their market. And all of them have one thing in common. They have widely successful partner ecosystem. This isn't a coincidence, by the way. One of the business goals of most organizations in the ability to scale is that. And that's possible by strengthening the partner ecosystem because all of us, all people who are running businesses, they want their organizations to grow and be able to scale. And that's possible only if you have a large network of partners. So let's look at the advantages of a strong partner ecosystem. As you can see in the slide, you can share resources and expertise because a strategic alliance, it helps you combine the best of companies to increase the speed to market. You are able to sort of penetrate new markets. In some cases, a strategic alliance gives access to a completely new market with a solution that wouldn't have been possible for either company on their own, right? So, for instance, companies going global often work with a trusted local partner to get an advantage in an emerging market. They wouldn't have had any footprint there. So that becomes a key driver for them to partner with someone else in that region. You are able to drive even innovation, right? With the right alliance, partners can help you outpace the competition with new solutions that are a complete package for their customers. So to build a reliable partner ecosystem, it takes much more and it takes really a lot. We are not going to dive deeper into all those aspects, but in today's presentation, I would like to focus on the content strategy because that is close to what we do, right? So I would like to focus on the content strategy that helps in onboarding and guiding the partners to help us in scaling our business. So let's start with looking at the way content is typically organized and delivered and how it poses a challenge for our partners. Each team builds great content. Each team, I can tell you that they are all focused on building great content. But they are siloed, right? That's the biggest issue. We call it islands of knowledge. Partners are focused to navigate these silos on their own. We tend to what we do, just dump a lot of information over the wall and assume our job's done. The other party will figure it out. So just imagine if you take someone to the best public library and say, here are all the books that pertain to computer science. Take your time and read. We hope you'll become a computer programmer in a few months. Best of luck. What do you think will happen? It's anybody's guess. Versus what if we define a course curriculum and map all the content to appropriate modules, stages of the course? That's what we call the journey framework. It should be intuitive, that is easy to navigate, should include right info for the right persona at the right time, and it should offer just in time micro learning. That's what is the journey framework that we defined after we understood that there are a lot of silos and all these silos need to be connected based on what a customer experiences. So let's look at a sample journey framework. By the way, please note we are calling it customer journey framework and not partner journey framework. That's because our goal is to scale our business, which is centered around customers. It is not centered around partners. So that's the reason we are very conscious about what we are calling it. It's a customer journey framework. We want our partners to learn our best practices for the end-to-end customer journey for a product, or it could be a solution, right? So that all customers get the same consistent experience, whether they are served by us directly or through our partners. That's what should be our goal. Create a playbook, essentially. So we created a playbook that we could offer to our partners. And we can take a deeper look at what kind of playbook we created. We called it the journey framework. It's more of a blueprint of the customer journey. It helps you map the end-to-end customer experience. I know these terms have become jargonish and a lot of people are overusing and rather abusing it. Customer journey, content strategy, customer experience. But how do you operationalize it? How do you make it real? That's what we have to look at, right? So let me just define the different portions of this blueprint. So the top portion is front stage. Uh, Customer interacts at this stage. It includes multiple swim lanes. As you can see here, business owner, IT team, end users, these are two swim lanes. Um, you can have more. These are dependent on the persona that are at the customer side. You may have an IT admin, you may have a business analyst, you may have an end user or more. But we have sort of compressed them into these two high level personas for our journey. And then the next layer, it has two swim lanes, one for the main stages and the second one for the sub stages. The main stages are interest, prepare, launch, run, right? Those are the main stages. Um, and the sub stages are, as you can see here, interest, purchase, initiation, discovery. And by the way, these will change depending on the product, especially the sub stages. So we have standardized at iManage the main stages for all journeys. That is only the substage change for different journeys, essentially. Uh, and I'll show you, by the way, all this seems very conceptual at the moment, but I'll dive deeper into through an actual journey, which I'll share in a bit. Uh, why is it not working? I'm trying to click. Okay, there is. So this is the bottommost layer, and this is the backstage. As the name suggests, it's not exposed in the user interface. This helps you identify which team will provide what content at various stages. As you can see, marketing, sales, training, tech pub, support, there could be more teams. These are all the different swim lanes. Each swim lane represents a team. There could be many teams and they would all come in at different stages depending on what content we need, right? So this sort of is more like a blueprint of a customer journey just a framework that I have tried to, it is much more complex than this, by the way, but I've tried to keep it simple and show it in one slide so that we can have a discussion around it. I'll show an actual example in a bit. And by the way, it wasn't easy for us to create this playbook. We had to map the end-to-end customer workflow from sales to support for different personas in the organization. And when we did that, we really learned a lot during the process. For example, we learned how marketing team pitches the product to customers before the sale actually happens. And we also spoke to renewals team to understand how they upgraded customers, which happens after support. So while I'm describing all that and talking about this blueprint, if you have a question, please don't hesitate to unmute yourself and ask. So I don't mind taking a pause now to just field some questions if you have any. Okay, if none, I'll continue. So this blueprint helped us, by the way, identify the end-to-end customer strategy for each product. That's what we did. Somebody had a question? No. Okay. Um, and it helped us discover various artifacts and the processes that various teams had developed. Because the journey which we put together, it not only had actual deliverable, maybe a video or a document or things like those, but sometimes it was just a process that we had to surface at different stages. So we captured those as well when we spoke to different teams across the organization. So, but our goal was simple, that we wanted this journey framework. Through this journey framework, we wanted to provide a single gateway to navigate all the siloed content, because that is the biggest challenge today. As tech writers, we know about our domain, about our deliverables, what we create, and we tend to create a few additional things. Maybe we venture into UX, we tend to do some videos, and maybe some marketing white papers and collaterals. But do we understand where the journey really starts? It is at the interest level, even before customer has come into the organization. So there are many other things that happen, that marketing team is trying to create that funnel through which they can attract more customers, and then the sale happens. After that, there is implementation, then the launch happens, training happens, documents are read, and finally when they're at the support stage, support team is looking at the cases and helping people out. So this whole journey includes artifacts of different kinds from different teams. So now let's have a look at an actual journey, because whatever I'm saying, you may be able to follow some bit of it, but still may not be able to appreciate as much. So let me get out of this. Stop sharing and share. Okay. Let me share a sample journey with you guys. So this is our help center, the support site. And this is the main tile that we have added on the support side so that people can understand that there is a concept called journey that we have put together. We really wanted people to start their journey when they land on the support side. So when you click this, you will see that there are journeys for different products and solutions. And not all of it is published yet. In fact, some of it is in the draft stage, but soon will be published. The ones that are published are here. We have a solution called Workday in the Cloud. We have a Threat Manager product. They have an excellent technology partner. In fact, this is an interesting journey. It is not a product, but it's more of, for a technology partner, what would you do so that they can learn from start to finish what they need to, how they interact with your product, what are the APIs, and where do they start their journey, how do they start the process, and things like those. But let me show you a sample journey for one of our solutions. As you can see in this journey, there are three personas. And as I said, we've just identified two personas from customer side and one partner. You may have more personas, you can always add those. But this journey has three personas. The partner persona, the interesting part is this, the partner persona can see everything that business owner slash IT team does, as well as what an end user does, because the partner is helping them through the whole process. And the second persona, business owner slash IT team, they are able to see only the end user persona content. They can't see what a partner does. and the end user doesn't see anybody else's content. So let's look at, for a partner, how we laid out the content. As I had mentioned, we had these four stages standardized, right? At the top, main stages: interest, prepare, launch, and run. When you click the persona, you are directly taken to the interest, by default, the interest phase. And in this phase, we've described here, you will learn about basics of iManage Cloud, gain access to important resources, and so on. But the important thing is this: what, how we laid out the content was important. We typically, and we all are guilty of this, we put a lot of links, documents, everything together, and assume that if we throw all of this at our partners or the customer, they'll figure it out and they will get to the right content at the right time. But that does not happen. It only overwhelms them. So what we did, we structured the content in such a way that people don't get overwhelmed and they can consume bite-sized morsels only. So first stage is interest. They know exactly what they should consume at the interest stage. We have these drop downs. When you click those, again you have sub drop downs, and you can click those and get to exactly what you need to do. And as you see here, this is green. Yeah, and this one is not. What that means is I have completed the prerequisites because I clicked on that. I have not completed the other ones. So as I click those, example could be this, it will take me to a resource, the relevant resource, where I can understand what needs to be done and go back, and it will turn green. Similarly, I can click others as well. What this helps me do is help me understand how much I have already completed and what's left. So I'm able to get back and then start from where I left off. That's the beauty of the framework that we put together. And this, by the way, is just regular JavaScripting that has been used. If you have, this is on Zendesk platform. If you have Zendesk, you can implement something similar. But if you hire a consultant and have them develop a separate site to develop a similar structure, you can easily do that. It's not rocket science. So, but it's more about what kind of structure you put together. So here, as you can see in the learning stage, we have just provided them links to different sales collaterals, things that they need to understand as a partner. And then after they have understood all the journey and the buying cycle of how customers purchase iManage products, then they can go to the value part as to what typically goes through customers' mind when they are buying a product. They have to overcome the fear to really sign that dotted line. Then they do the commitment, they share the pricing information, and they define the expectation as to what will be coming as part of the package, and things like those. And this, by the way, is for a reseller. That's another aspect that I wanted to highlight, because reseller is the one who's selling the solution and trying to understand how you sell a particular solution to customers. So this interest phase is more relevant for a reseller. When you go to the prepare stage, this one is relevant for an implementation partner. So you have different types of partners, and all these partners are going to get the playbook from different teams. So the interest phase, and keep this in mind, interest phase playbook is coming from two teams. That's what we had to do. We had to talk to sales, we had to talk to marketing, and they told us what they follow as within iManage to make things happen for a solution. We took their playbook and then shared it with the reseller in this format. And then for prepare phase, we had to go to cloud services team, we had to go to professional services team, because they are the ones who implement the solution at a customer side after understanding the requirements. So this is the initiation, discovery, design stage. This is all done by a professional services team. So we had to take their playbook. Build and migration also is their playbook. But the cloud services team, or the cloud CSMs, cloud service managers, they also play a part. So they helped us understand their process, and we put that all together again in a very structured way, in a way that is definitive. People know exactly where to start, what to do next. So this is very, very applicable to the implementation partner. Then comes the launch stage. This stage, again, the cloud services team helps them go live. So they provided some information, but at the same time, we had to also talk to the user adoption team, that is the training team. They told us what are the things that they share with customers so that the training can happen at the right time. So all these stages, be it run stage, launch stage, prepare stage, it required us to talk to, as writers, we got the opportunity to talk to people from different teams: sales, marketing, implementation, the professional services, support, all of them, renewals. It was an excellent experience. So that is a sample journey that I wanted to show you guys. Questions before I move to other parts of the presentation? No questions, then I can move back to the presentation. So you've seen the demo. So to summarize the journey experience, it's an intuitive, simple point of entry. It is self-paced, right? Uh, the partner or the customer could come in and they could decide the pace. They could walk through the different stages that we had identified for them, and it was very clear. It was very structured. They knew exactly where to start, what to do next, and so on. That was the most important thing. So first, we understood the customer journey. We created a playbook out of that from different teams, and then we shared it to the partners and the customers eventually. And by the users could start and stop at their schedule. They could easily restart from where they left off because we had those tick marks that help them understand where they are. And it's easier to keep it always current. That's another advantage because it is hosted somewhere. You didn't provide some kind of a PDF or a checklist through which becomes outdated the moment the next release comes out or a new process is established. So it's very easy for us to have this entire thing updated anytime there is a change. Essentially, you are delivering the right information, you are at the right time to the right audience. That's the main goal.
Akash, hi, Sandesh here. Yeah, I just had a comment and a question. So it sounds almost like you've put together like a whole, like a knowledge management system almost, right? Because it's knowledge from different parts of the company and it's curated for the customer.
Yes.
So yeah, in that, but even though it's the same company, often I think different teams have like a different content approach. So, how much of consistency was there in the content, or like even for the customer, would it feel like, okay, we're now going from a doc system to a learning system, which looks different? So, and does it matter whether each of those artifacts look a little different?
Very good point. So what we had to do was this, Sandhya. The issue was this, and I'm going to get to that in a bit. In fact, in the subsequent slide, but I would just summarize it for now. We had made sure we let the teams do what they were doing. We just created this as a single pane of glass for customers because we want to, at least right now in the first stage, want to at least aggregate all the content and provide a single pane of glass to customers. Even if the experience when they go to that site, and I'll show you an example. I had it here. So if you're here, you may be taken to a completely different type of a artifact. It could be a webinar, it could be a case study, right? And the way marketing team, and this is all put together by marketing. So the way they develop it is very different from our content when we come to launch, and if they have to go for train end users and go live. There was somewhere I wanted to show you. Yeah, the YouTube videos that we created. The entire look and feel is very different from what you saw in the marketing deliverable. But the advantage was at least customers have only one place where they can click and get to whichever deliverable you are pointing them to. So yes, they look a little different in some cases. We try to keep the branding intact, but at least you have one place where you can navigate to, from where you can navigate to different sites. So that was the main advantage with the journey.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
And in the subsequent phases, the goal is to have more and more consistency across deliverables, across teams. But in the first stage, we said, let's at least put everything together and offer one consistent, just single pane of glass, as I said, to customers.
Okay. Akash, could you scroll to the top of the page, please?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, while I understand this is very content driven,
Mm-hmm.
I want to know if you have built in the buyer's journey, the support journey for the customer as part of this interface.
So, yes. In fact, when you go to a partner persona, buyer's journey is one of the things. Understanding the stages of buying cycle, because this is for a reseller and this is coming from the sales team. Whatever the sales team follows, we have provided package that as a playbook and given to the reseller. And we do not tell them that you are selling. Understand the seller's process or the sale process. We rather say understand the buying cycle, because you need to understand what goes on in customer's mind. And one of the stages, that's what I mentioned, was fear. They need to really acknowledge and recognize this and do something about it. So we have provided very specific deliverables that people can use at the fear stage also. That will help the resellers really take the sale forward.
Okay. So, would you provide a path for escalation, a path for perhaps, looking up licensing and going ahead and ordering?
Yes. So there will be the pricing sheet. There is information on whom to contact in the sales team. All of that is available. So this is more like a complete process that we have put together, so that people come to just one place and know exactly what needs to be done.
All right. Yeah. So I think content journey is not just about the content, but more like the customer journey itself, right?
Yes.
With the content being like an underlining channel that moves them from one one phase to another.
Yeah. So the entire operations of your company in some ways is actually documented here for that solution from start to finish. And that's the important, very interesting piece, that you as a writer is able to understand business. You are able to see even the pricing sheets. You are able to see what renewals team does when there is an escalation. They have specific processes. So it was a very eye-opening conversation with each team, that what all they do in their own silo and how we could connect everything.
Okay. Thank you. Just one follow-up question. Like, are you going to talk about how you use data to maintain this flow?
So we are not talking about that, but I can definitely answer that question. That we do have this site does have Google Analytics running behind the scenes. So we are able to track exactly how many partners, how many customers, which phases they have come to, what they have clicked, and out of these 72 steps, how many they completed, where did they just fall off.
And does the site kind of morph based on the journey
No,
for the
no, it's not that dynamic. At the moment, this content is not dynamic. This has been put together by us. And based on the data, we can make changes every quarter and say, hey, you know what? These things work, these things did not work. Nobody clicks this and looks like there is a problem. We should talk to the team and change this artifact. So this
Sounds
is very, very static. Yeah. Any other question? But good question. Okay. If no other, then I'll just proceed that. So you may, I was just saying that, so you may think all this makes sense and should be easy to implement for an organization. But we didn't have that experience, because content strategy is not just about content and the framework. That was the problem. The mission was in place. We knew exactly what needs to be done. The framework was in place. The content, we knew what we had to put. But people play a big role in making your strategy work. You need to understand how to navigate your org's hierarchy and the department labyrinth. That's the biggest one. And just look at this screen. How many teams contributed to our journeys? We really had to understand their processes, their tools, their availability, and motivations to help us. Because without that understanding, you cannot piece the puzzle together. Your content strategy will not see the light of the day. We had to talk to marketing, as I mentioned, product management, cloud ops, so many of them, right? To put this whole framework together and then be able to create personas driven content, which we could just sort of package as a content journey. So here's what, based on the experience of putting together this initiative, because whenever you put together a large initiative that cuts across multiple departments, there are learnings, right? And you need to deal with people in the process, the whole management aspect of it, the change management aspect of things. So here's what you need to manage based on what we've learned. You need to have an exec to sponsor and support, because many a times, if things don't come from the top, people and teams don't follow. They want some kind of a mandate because they are all busy. It's just that it's not that they don't want to support you, but they are busy with their own initiatives. So unless it comes from the top that this is a priority for the company, everybody has to support it. It is not very easy to get alignment. And you need to identify various departments' alignment with the strategy so that you get their support. Many times, the different departments have, like I said, different goals and initiatives. They're all working towards the good of the company. Definitely, they want to make the customers happy, but they want to do it their own way. So you need to understand what are their motivations, where are they aligned, and how can we have a common ground and work together. Because sometimes collaboration means just follow what we do. So how do you change that? You need to understand that. So what we did was, one of the things, we did not disrupt another department's process or the tools. We integrated within their strategy. So that's what we did. We first understood which repo they use, because some people, they like to work in, say, SharePoint. Some have a CMS. Some have just local copies of things. We don't know. I mean, we don't want anybody to have local copy, but at least some system. We just wanted to know, what do you use? Can you just help us understand whether we can connect to that? We will have the same single pane of glass for the customer, and all we will need is a connectivity to your repo. And we want you to keep it up to date. That's all we are asking. So we let them do what they were doing. We did not disrupt their flow. And that's how we could sort of get their support. And you need to promote your strategy at various company forums, both internal and external. So we had several company forums which are sort of for customers as well as for partners. We went and sort of marketed it all these places. We promoted this journey framework. We talked about it. We said what is coming. It was not live. In fact, it was in prototype stage, but we still showed it to people to say this is coming. And at several forums, it was customer events, as well as within the company, all hands. We talked about it. We shared the information with employees, so that people are aware and they know that, looks like it's an initiative, or org is supporting it. It is being discussed at this high level. So you know what, it would be good to be part of that. So that's the reason a lot of teams, they wanted to be part of that success, so they support it. So you need to sort of promote it as much as you can. Identify champions, because that's one of the things. Sometimes there are these influencers, people who are popular in a company because they are very technical, they are knowledgeable, they have patents and things like those. So find such champions who can sort of take your case forward in their company or in their groups. So find such influencers and then somehow have them support you, because if 2 or 3 of such people support from each team, then it becomes easier to take the case forward. and look for quick wins. That's a given in change management. All of us have heard of this. That the moment you see something that is easy to do in that initiative, first try that low hanging fruit, show success with that, and then say, hey, this is how it works. These are the challenges we face, but we can make it better. And then take feedback, iterate, and do it for other solutions as well. Questions on that?
Yeah, I think you should do a session on, I think, influencing people also. Yeah, it's easier said than done. I mean, you've said it very simply and in a slide, but yeah, it could be a very complex, part of the whole change management process. So I mean, don't have to answer it, but how long did this whole process take?
Very good question. So we started the whole framework almost 1.5 years ago, and we started announcing it in different company events. By the time it materialized, it was nearly a year plus. So it does take a lot of time, effort, bandwidth from senior leaders, because they have to be seen on stage with this. If you are the only one showcasing this, some people will support, not everybody. But when the senior leaders, even we went up to the CEO and VPs, they were the ones who were talking about it in even just as a one bullet item, but they talked about it, and that got us support from teams who were not aware of it or wanted to be part of that success. In fact, something as simple as when you get into a meeting where there are a lot of people, do not go in with a completely new idea for everybody in the room. At least if there are like 20 people in the room, you should have spoken about that with 5 or 6 people separately, individually, as one-on-ones about that concept. And then you should get into that meeting so that those 5 or 6 people will say yes to your idea, will just add to what you're saying, and will make more people sign up. Otherwise, if everybody is new, they are only going to question, and then probably the meeting will go in a completely different direction.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think it's a lot of effort from leadership and great example how I think as doc leaders, what we can do and how we can, influence. Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, welcome. I think the biggest thing was trying to not be a tech pubs leader, but be more of a just a business manager who understands what is it the company wants. Help me understand that process. Connect with all these people who are doing whatever they do in their business environment. Try to understand that from each team. As a renewals team, what is your challenge? What are the top issues that you guys face? Or it could be from sales team. So just talk to them more as I'm not here as tech pubs person who want and trying to collaborate with you, but just trying to understand what you do. That's it. And we really want to do something for our business. So it's more about having that business focus and understanding that helps. That's what I realized. So yeah, hope these tips help you define the content strategy for your customer journey. And I would wish you guys best of luck with that. Some key takeaways which we already discussed. These are the benefits, by the way, and I have outlined it for both benefits to the partners as well as internal teams. With regard to benefits to partners, here are the key things. A summary, simple starting point. You just want to create something very simple, easy to follow. You should have relevant sources presented to right persona at the right stage in time, because you want single source of truth. It should be easy to access because there are so many sources of information, right? So you should give them that easy path to different sources. You should create something which weaves all this web of all the external repositories together. And you can direct partners to specific valuable learning opportunities through this, right? Because they are also looking for business opportunities. So if you can show that this will help you gain new business, then those partners also will support you. Every time, the biggest thing we learned was you need to know what is that person's motivation. So partner also will not learn a new process because they've been doing something. You need to show them that they will earn more business faster if they learn our playbook. So that was another thing. So you were covering marketing, sales, collateral, all the way through implementation. That's the benefit of this journey framework. You can track progress, and you can resume wherever you left off. And the other advantage is it is a living journey. You can update it as and when things change, when they evolve, right? This one, internal teams, what are the benefits? Well, again, this can be a simple starting point for onboarding. Whenever new team members join, especially in the area of API documentation, I send them through the technology partner journey, because that help them understand what is it that a partner is looking for, what is it that the prerequisite. When they had to write prerequisite, we knew exactly what training they should have taken. So they should have known REST concepts, they should have known Python, they should have known a couple of other tools. So that itself helped them understand prerequisite for their documentation. Plus, they could see what are the things that are required as use cases. So they could navigate through the whole journey and understand it and use it for API documentation. So it is really a great starting point for onboarding some of the teams. Endless possibilities for paths, right? You can create, depending on which solution you're targeting, which audience you want, what is the audience and the persona, you can create those paths, and it can be used by all teams for internal and external journeys. Like I said, for our onboarding, we used it. A lot of teams were using it just to, in fact, train the salespeople. Some people are using it to train the implementation partners as well as the cloud services teams. Again, it weaves all the web of external repositories together, because if you go and ask any team, do you know where sales team keeps their content? Nobody knows. Where does the cloud services team keeps their documents and processes documents? Not many will know. But if people come here, they know exactly for solution A where what is kept, at least in the context of that solution. They are aware. So we have one gateway for different teams to contribute content and make customers and partners successful. And teams can keep working on their repos. We never ask them to change anything. That is the reason this initiative was successful. That's pretty much it. Any other questions? Comments? So we have 10 more minutes. If there are questions, I can answer those.
Yeah, Akash, Vineet here. Thanks for a very informative and interesting session. Can we just go back to the playbook slide, please, Akash, where you've shown the swim lanes and the backstage and the
this one.
Yes. So the front stage, it shows the end user, right? And obviously the backstage is where the internal company people are.
Yeah.
So I just want to understand how, to me, when I understood your framework, right, I thought there are two aspects to this framework. One is a little more fixed in terms of the internal processes and mapping, where you have already defined, journey steps. But there's also the front stage, the end user, right, which is who's more dynamic. And, their requirements and their, as features grow, as, the product evolves, with every release, right, their own requirements may change, right? And it's becoming extremely dynamic, right? So how have you planned to build that flexibility back into this framework here in the backstage? Because, every end user may have different use cases, they may have different scenarios. At any given point, they may have different goals and objectives, and they may change per release or as per what competition is offering. So I think my question is, there is a fixed aspect to what you showed in terms of the steps, but how do you build the flexibility for, let's say, a feature or a use case which is very specific to a specific end user? Customer A may want it, customer B may want something else.
So what we need to do is, and I'll take you back to the, hang on. Sometimes it does not work and I don't know why. Okay, now it's working. So if I take you to the end user journey, right? One, the end user they have already purchased the product. So interest phase is gone already. Okay. Now with regard to the launch and what are the things that they need to adopt, at the go live stage, they have to undergo some training, right? And we have also talked about the public facing documentation. Now, you can, if you want to create a path such that you create a micro journey, right? Where you tell the user for release, that is a new release, a point release, 10.0 had gone out and now 10.2 is coming out. For 10.2, you can actually, for go live, you can create whatever steps you want. So every release, you can create micro journeys and give them those checklists. And in fact, I want to show you that. Interesting that you asked that. So in cloud, we recently, for just getting started, we created go live preparation checklist. And this is a new process. So the way you said that things keep changing dynamically, we recently had a change in process wherein the go live process changed. So we created micro journeys for this go live process. We said, when you're going live, here are the 5 or 10 things that you may want to have a look at with regard to features. And we created those features with GIFs. So this is how you right click, document, share, send link, and this is how you send. If you know this, great. Then you need to talk about right click, micro, open edit. Here's where the integration that we have recently provided is available. So for each step, we provided a GIF. We even created a video for one of them. But the point is, you can create a micro journey the way you want it and slap it into the journey framework.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Because this is very sort of pointed. It only talks about go live checklist, nothing else.
Yes. So you're saying that we can actually bake in the specific, let's say, feature requirements or anything within the existing framework and say, for this release, this is all that you need to know because you already completed the rest of the steps.
That's about it. So for a new release, you just say review these new features. Instead of saying review the checklist, review these new features, and you even give them these very short snippets, which will not take, and by the way, we even mentioned this will not take more than 10 to 15 minutes of your time. Right? So when you mention that upfront, people are motivated to even read.
Yeah.
So you can release this package anytime you like. So just release the for your new release that's going out, put the package together for a couple of features, send it to them and say, review this. This is for your benefit, and even provide links to your documentation at the end of it. Just somewhere, I know we had provided somewhere, I forget now, but just provide links to say docs.cisco.com from here to the relevant documentation. So there is some work required. It's not going to be easy. You will not be able to create very dynamic things unless you build that much of AI somehow. So here the teams are putting it together, but it does help. And anyway, we are putting the release content together. This doesn't take much to put it in the journey format because it's quite easy to put this article format. And by the way, all of this is just like an article. So if I just do an edit article, these are just headings that become a drop down. So review the checklist is just a heading H2. We have created the style sheet such that it becomes a drop down. So all that has to be done. I saw there was a question in chat.
Thank you,
Geeta.
Akash. Thanks.
Hey, Vineet, no problems. Geeta's question: what was the biggest challenge setback in this journey, and how did you navigate it? Okay, good question, Geeta. That was one of the aspects. Was not everybody or not too many people came to journey initially. So what we had to do is we had to sort of promote the framework through different newsletters, in partner forums, partner channels, and slowly we saw an uptick. It was not easy to sort of push a new concept to people. Nobody changes their processes. So like I said, we had to make partners understand that this is going to help you gain more business. So you have to find those motivations. We thought we are done. Partners should really be happy with this new framework, but no, it didn't happen.
Hello, everyone. While Akash answers the questions, I have also pasted a quick feedback form on this session. So please take out these last couple of minutes of the session to please provide your feedback on how you found this session and what are the aspects you would like to hear more on from this session. Thank you.
Hey Akash, this is Ritu here.
Hey, Ritu.
Again, great session, and I mean, this has so much of food for thought. So what did you do to, I mean, did you already have the user personas identified, or did you have to start from there?
Another interesting question. We had nothing. We had just a blank page, and we had to start this whole concept from ground up. In fact, we first started reading a couple of books. My VP, he was the one who was interested in the whole journey concept. He read a few books. I read a few books. We to understand what people are talking about when it comes to customer journey, but nothing was really aligned to software. And some of this were talking about like somebody goes to Starbucks, what would be that person's journey? Now, to align it to software was difficult to understand what persona is coming to Starbucks, but who's that person? So we had to talk to several teams, and there was conflicting opinion. Some people said that there is an IT team as well as there is an end user, and in addition to that, there is an analyst and there's an attorney, paralegal. So it became very complex and difficult for us to put our heads around what is the real persona. So only after talking to a couple of teams and then aggregating all of it, we could understand that we can sort of combine or merge some of the personas. Otherwise, we ended up with nearly some 8 or 9 personas from the customer side. We then said it's not going to work. We have to create journey 101. 101 would be simple, basic. Let's start with that. We will make it complex only later. So that's how we arrived at whatever initial personas that we have today. This may evolve. It's possible the journey, the next 2.0 version that comes out, will have more personas in it.
So has this been rolled out to the customers?
This has been rolled
I
out
mean,
to This has been rolled out to only
okay.
partners so far. The reason why we've not rolled out to customers yet is because though it is available online, if somebody wants to go, they can see it. But there has been more, and we've just talked about it, that it is available for you to have a look at, but not many customers have taken it. But the partners have, because for them it is business critical. If they
Urgent,
understand it,
yeah.
they'll be able to reach out to customers. So that's the reason more partners have taken the journey.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Akash.
Yeah, no
Akash,
problem.
I have to ask this because you clicked the edit article tab and showed us the tool. So just very curious to know, did you have to make any changes to your tool infra as such, or did your existing infrastructure support this whole framework that you shared? I'm just
So,
trying to understand if someone with a different infra can still get to this using this simple edit tool. I guess that's my question.
so this whole concept of journey is, if you in Zendesk right now, we have different types of style sheets that are applied for different types of content. Community looks very different from the journey. So what we had to do is we had to hire a consultant, and that person had understanding of Zendesk and how Zendesk framework, its APIs, and the style sheets work. And we gave the requirement to that person that here's what we want. That we should be able to have checklist. We should be able to navigate through the framework and all of that. We had the requirement in place. We had to really hire somebody, pay money, and build this custom solution for us. This does not exist outside. It is not out of the box thing that you can purchase.
Got that, Akash. Thank you. So in a sense, when you click on the documentation links, they'll still go to your existing structure, whatever that is.
Yeah, the old Zendesk, whatever format they provide. If you go here, simple. Yeah, this is straightforward Zendesk. Typical, not much of a difference. Just
HTML, CSS.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Akash. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So essentially you need to sort of work with some exec, because you will need sponsorship, you will need approvals, you will need budget to make changes.
Akash, I was wondering whether people may say something like, I don't want to be put in this particular persona, or I am unique, mine is different.
Mm-hmm.
And whether persona itself is the word to use.
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought about that?
Good question. So here's the thing, that it's always best to put out something, seek feedback, iterate, and then change. So the goal is with, and let me go there. So here, if I go to tech partner journey, there are different types of persona: product manager, developer,
Okay.
business owner.
Great. Okay.
So not every time the persona is going to be the same for every solution. But for the other solution, we knew that in threat manager, as an example, we did not need too many personas. There was just one business owner and IT team, because there is no user. This is an IT tool. So it will always depend on the solution. And you may go out and you will find that people will still criticize and say, I am not an IT admin. I am called some support admin or something else. We'll say, okay, we learned. Thank you. We are going to change it. The next iteration will have that. So that's the best approach, to put out something, seek feedback, iterate multiple times.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
No problem. Any other questions? We are already at the top of the hour, but good. It was engaging, so that's good. Any other question? We can take maybe one more if there is any.
There's one in the chat,
Oh, there is.
Akash.
Okay, I didn't see that. Sorry, I should. I think that was from Geeta. Is that, or is there anything else?
It's from Ritu, I think. Have you calculated?
Oh, yeah, is there one? Have you calculated the ROI yet? No, Ritu, to be honest, this framework is relatively new, though we've been working on it for almost 1.5 years. The ROI, no, not yet. We really need to see more stats and figure out after this what changed. Did something improve significantly? In fact, that is one of the questions that even we are interested in. But we are tracking how many people are using it. So we have stats on how many people use it, but then that is also not enough, right? Just people using it. Has it reduced the support cases? Has it increased the business? We don't know that yet. So those are yet to come.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Akash. Because I think these are the questions that senior management also would be interested in, especially because you said you had to hire an external consultant. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And the best way to sell it is this: does the company have a consistent experience for partners and customers? How will somebody, like, if you ask a question to any senior leader, just in case if they are really curious, can they confidently say where the different artifacts for each team resides? If we ourselves within the company don't know where it resides, that means somebody outside the company will never ever be able to figure that out. And if that is something we want to do to help customers, because they should be able to see the journey end to end, what should we do to make that experience seamless?
Yeah. No, all good points, Akash. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Come. Okay, that's pretty much what I had. If there are more questions, we can always, you can send me an email, akash.dubey@imanage.com. And all those who have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do subscribe to that. We will be posting all of this there as a recording, and also visit the managethedocs.org site. Everything is going to be uploaded to these locations.
Thank you, Akash. Yeah,
Thanks a lot.
wonderful session.
Thanks. Thanks again.